Hello guys, this is a review of the original Child's Play. This is one of the coolest DVD sets I've ever owned in my entire life. This one holds the first 6 entries in the film series, and I'm sure you've seen this particular one behind a lot of promos that Don Mancini did at the time of its release, but in case you haven't seen it really well, I'll try and show it to you. Hopefully you're able to see it. So that's the cover. I'm not sure you'll be able to see it, but I'm trying my best. This, I believe it's from Curse of Chucky, with Nika lying down on the floor and Chucky sitting comfortably on a rocking chair. Then we have this one. I would assume it's also from Curse of Chucky, based on Chucky's face. And this one with Chucky holding a knife, looking back at us menacingly, as always. Look at all of these bonus features. Believe it or not, I really haven't watched any of them. Well, I mean, I've watched some on YouTube, but with having as many DVDs as I have and still watching some of the new films, you kind of had to cut back on time, especially knowing that I also have a regular job to attend. But anyway, I've of course watched all of the films already. Oh, and Cult of Chucky sitting right here minding his own business. I already watched them multiple times. I wouldn't say like dozens of times yet, but I definitely watched them more than once. I rewatched Child's Play yesterday just to have it fresh on my mind, and I noticed some important details that I want to point out before I get on with the plot the way I usually do with my reviews. Tom Holland. So Tom Holland is the director of this film, and not the Tom Holland that we think of now, because now we say Tom Holland and we think of the guy that plays Spider-Man and is dating Zendaya, right? But no, before him there was a Tom Holland that also worked in the film industry, so I thought that was pretty cool. Also, United Artists, that's a production company behind Jeepers Creepers, my favorite movie of all time, another horror movie, and I'm sure any horror fan would know and recognize. So that was also pretty cool. I think that's some of the points that I wanted to say before I get on with the plot. So let's get started. Whew. Child's Play. Child's Play follows the story of Andy, this 6-year-old kid. Andy is a terrible cook. I don't know, that's besides the point, but my gosh, like the way we get introduced to him burning the French toast and pouring milk all over it's awful. It's like people with OCD, I'm pretty sure, are like having a heart attack trying to get by watching that scene. This kid is obsessed with a good guy doll that they promote on TV. They have a show for it. They have the cereal. They have the clothing, like with Peppa Pig and all of these characters. I'm sorry about the barking. They should shut up pretty soon. We're gonna ignore them. There's nothing I can do because they're not really my dogs. So that's Andy, right? And he's obsessed with the doll, but his family, or his mom, I don't know what happened to his dad, they don't have money to afford it. So his mom buys him for his birthday. That's when we get introduced to him, right on his birthday. He buys him clothes and the toys that you'd play with if you had a good guy doll, like a hammer and stuff like that. And he's this little ungrateful little kid, like, and his mom's like, "What's wrong? You wanted a good guy doll, huh? Not boring clothes." And his mom is struggling to make ends meet, and that kid is giving her the hardest time. Anyway, she goes back to work, his mom, and her coworker slash very good friend May. No, is it May, or am I confusing with Spider-Man? Just to not like F it up, I'm just gonna call her the aunt, even though she's just a friend, right? And nanny. She's like, hey, there's a guy like in the back selling a good guy doll for a very good price, so you could go and like maybe get it for Andy. And they go, they buy it, they don't ask many questions, they buy it for $30, even though it's valued at like $100. And she goes back and gives it to him. He's so excited, and then slowly but surely, obviously, the doll is starting to create a little bit of a mess in their lives. And Andy is obviously the first person to see it first, because he's a kid and because they gave it to him. I guess Chucky is a very intelligent man. Oh, I forgot to give you the first scene. So the opening scene, we see Charles Lee Ray, the Lakeshore Strangler, as they call him, in his town. We see him running away from the police, and he gets shot multiple times. He ends up in a breaking into a toy store and transmitting his soul into the body of a good guy doll. That's how he ends up in it in the first place. So this happens, right? The movie plays on and on and on. We see the first death of in the hands of Chucky with the babysitter, the aunt, as I said that I was gonna call her. And Andy obviously doesn't really know what happened. Chucky explains it to him like she saw him moving and she got scared, so she fell out the window. But obviously he hit her with a hammer, and that's what happened. The police is very skeptical. Um, they're like, whoa, it might be that kid, that little kid, but how could he do something so atrocious? And as the movie goes on, then the characters, the grown up, sorry, they start believing that Chucky is in fact the killer doll, and it's none other than the infamous killer Charles Lee Ray. By then, like, all hell breaks loose. Chucky had already killed Eddie Caputo, which was his partner in crime that ditched him, and that's how he ended up here in the first place. And now he's after the cop because he swore to get vengeance upon them. Before he decides to attack the cop and the mom, he goes over to John's place. That's what he called him, if I'm not mistaken. I mean, I wrote it down. He's a witchcraft master guy, the guy that taught him all the voodoo stuff that he used to transfer his soul into the doll. And he tells him, what do I have to do to get out of it? And he was obviously not very like happy. Oh, you had to do this, you have to do that. He's like, oh, you're an abomination, I'm not gonna tell you. But he gets the voodoo doll of the guy, the I'm gonna call him the Witchcraft Master John, and he starts like breaking his legs, breaking his arms, and then he ends up killing him anyway, but not before he tells him that he has to transfer his soul into the first person that saw him move, or that recognized that he was alive, and then he finds out that it's the little kid. So he goes back and he kills him, like I said, anyway, and he rushes over because he knows that he's running out of time. The more time that he spends in the doll body, the more he becomes a doll itself, and he will be unable to become human again. By then, that's when he starts attacking all the other people because they get in his way while he's trying to do the transfer, that chant thing, which is super cool. And the movie ends with the mom burning him. Well, actually, Andy was the one who lit the fire, lit the match and threw it on the fireplace. So he's a real bad kid. Good for him though. And then they shoot him in the heart. The cop shoots him in the heart, and that's how they stop him, supposedly. Obviously, we know that that's not true because we also have other entries after this one, other direct follow-ups to the movie. And that's what happens in a nutshell. It's, if you haven't watched it, you have to watch it. Like, if you're familiar with the series and that's how you got introduced to Chucky, I really recommend that you watch them in order. They're amazing. So much fun. Right now I'm going through a Chucky obsession because of the series. I didn't think that I'd get so much into it, but I did. It really caught me. I mean, I've liked Chucky for a very long time, ever since I started watching horror movies. Even before I watched horror movies, I was already very much into the Chucky series. Now the other dog's barking, so we're just gonna pretend like he's not. I feel like right now I'm talking like Jennifer Tilly all fast and everything because I want to get all my thoughts out. I'm sick, so I can't talk for so long, and I don't want to keep restarting. I've already restarted the intro so many times. But back to the point. The movie, this is a very unpopular opinion, but I think the movie does have humor in it, and it's not necessarily scary. I guess this is kind of subjective. It really depends very much on what you consider to be scary. I see a lot of criticism in the horror community and even Chucky fans alike when they're like, after Bride of Chucky, it just went downhill, and we all know that, blah blah blah, and like now it's just for laughs and Chucky doing all these things. But honestly, since the very beginning, I guess if you have this phobia of dolls, and the way that they manage to introduce us to Chucky, it is in a kind of serious way, but you can't take a moving doll that seriously. That serious. Yeah, did I say it right? Anyway, yeah, like it's a doll. You know what I'm saying? That's basically what it comes down to. And the way, like, let me read you this quote that I wrote down. This is the aunt speaking. So Andy's mom's best friend. They're talking about taking care of Andy. Oh, are you kidding me? Though it's no problem. Like he's the hottest date I've had in months, and then their boss is like, I can't imagine why. That's funny. And then when he goes to John's place and he's like very comical about it, he's like, so what do you think? Like, and he's like his usual Chucky self. You know, the accent is quite different, and also the voice sounds a lot more light. But that comes with age. I mean, Brad Dourif has been building on Chucky in a very good way. He, like, you think as you grow older that you're gonna kind of like need a little bit more of a push, a little more of an energy boost, and you're gonna see lacking in that department. And it's quite the contrary. I think like the more the films went on, the more that Brad Dourif got into Chucky, into Charles Lee Ray's character, and really owned what was there, and just developed it, took it to a whole new level. It's just amazing to see. So there are the differences, but I did want to get that thought out, that I don't think that Chucky started as a serious film that everybody thinks that it creeped you out maybe in the 80s because you were young back then. So you were going to get spooked, right? So it's kind of like me when I watch I know I'm bringing it, but let me just bring another movie up so for the sake of having something else to compare it with. Um oh gosh, what horror movie? Any horror movie. The Exorcist. I was trying to look for a movie that's within the subgenre of like moving dolls or something like that, but I guess we don't really have that many. Um, at least from back in my day. The Exorcist, let's just say. When I was a kid, I watched The Exorcist. I don't remember watching it, like watching from beginning to end, but I did watch clips and it was traumatizing. I have to say, like Jeepers Creepers, you know, it was traumatizing. I watched the whole entire movie and I do remember watching that one. But as you grow older and the more you watch it and watch it and watch it and watch it, you do become desensitized and you do understand the behind the scenes, because by then you've watched hundreds of behind the scenes, as many as you can as a fan, and you've read, you know, thousands of interviews and watched interviews with the creators and the cast members talking about it. So I mean, that's from my experience, and I think that's what happened with Chucky, because Chucky has been, you know, standing tall for decades, and people maybe back then were young or were a little more naive. I can't say like now in today's times you tell like little kids, oh, Santa's coming, they're like, Santa's not real. Back then you could actually believe something like that and it wouldn't be so. And it's not like everybody, you know, but it's a case by case basis. And my argument is that people have outgrown the fear in the Chucky films, and I'll talk a little bit more about that and give you more precise examples when we get to Curse of Chucky, which is a return of horror Chucky instead of comedic Chucky. And a lot of people dismiss it and call it a bad movie. A lot of people, it would surprise you, and I do not agree with that at all. What else can I say about Child's Play? Child's Play has the 80s vibe, you know, it has that groove to it. It's quite fun. It's good acting. I think Andy, played by Alex Vincent, I think Alex Vincent, yeah, it should be. Um, he was he was a good actor. I wouldn't say that it's one of those actors that are like, oh my gosh, so great. But for this role, and I haven't seen him in any other role, so I don't have an educated opinion about this. I'm basing it off of what I see in this movie and assuming, you know, of his overall potential. But I feel like he was casted perfectly as this little perturbed kid in this movie. He did amazing. There are like scenes where you feel like he might have gotten like direct pointers and he's kind of acting upon them, and there are other scenes where you genuinely see a little kid that's scared to death. So that's pretty cool. You can't get like, I also feel like if you got a very very trained actor that the ins and out knows the ins and outs of everything, they're a little bit too robotic. So it's good that they use someone that, and I don't even know his backstory as an actor, but his backstory, his history as an actor, but that's what I take from it. And I would say I have a pretty good eye for these type of things. He did amazing. Obviously, we see him all grown up in the, spoiler alert, in the series, and he's cool. It's always a real treat to see him back. It's amazing. I know, me as like I said, a loyal follower of the series, it's amazing anytime we can see any of these characters come back. Something that I read in a comment regarding the series, I think it's, the word is retcon, when they like dismiss previous truths, events that happened before, and then for the sake of story continuation, they just kind of like ignore it. I guess kind of what happened in the Halloween series after really after the original Halloween, that they just jumped to Halloween 2018. You know what I'm talking about? Is this making any sense? Because I'm being distracted because I know somebody's pulling in and the dogs are going to start barking. So I'm kind of having a meltdown because I don't want to do this again. Um, so yeah, so they have accused Don Mancini of doing this. So ignoring facts from other films so that he could adjust to the new vision that he has for the current project that he works in. I don't know if I phrased that right, but let me give you an example. This guy, John, the as I call him, the Witchcraft Master, he tells him, and Chucky himself realizes in the body of the doll that he's becoming more human as the days go on. And I was reading a comment that said, why is it that he's now able to transfer his soul into multiple Chuckies, as we found out in Cult of Chucky, and he's not like, he could transfer into any kid that he wants or any person that he wants for that matter. So where is that magic? And I do agree with that. This was not only I could understand how they dismiss it if it was just like one of the points in the series, but this is the main point for our antagonist. This is the main point. His main drive, and I mean Chucky, his main drive was to become human again. He didn't want to stay in the body of a doll. That's not what he wanted. And I see it in the other films. If I'm remembering correctly, that's also his main motivation, is to get out of that body and start killing and chopping and slicing the way that he did as a human. So to ignore that, I'd have to see what Don Mancini has to say about it. I guess she's just gonna say that he had another vision and he wanted to go with it. And I'm not like mad at it, but it is a little bit like, like in the back of your head, in the back of my head for sure. Like you always have it like, don't you want to go back into your human body eventually? And they've, in the series, for example, they totally like left that out up until the moment when he took over Nika's soul, or Nika's body, and lived in duality with her soul. Because it's kind of confusing, but if you watch the series, then you know what I'm talking about. Up until that moment, he hadn't really gotten into a person's body, if I remember correctly. I know Tiffany did, and Glenn and Glenda did as well. But we'll talk. Look, I have them right here. I don't know if you could see them. Glenn / Glenda. In this very beautiful family portrait. Can you see it? I don't know if you can. I should probably go a little bit higher. What else do I have to comment on, or what I like to comment on? The having to kill him in the heart, or the attack has to be through the heart, as John said. In other movies, they don't have to like attack his heart. They don't have to get him there. They could get him anywhere else as long as it's brutal and gruesome. Then he dies, quote unquote. So that's also another change. But all in all, like it sounds like I'm kind of like, dissing it. I'm not dissing it at all. I enjoy it 100%. The movie is amazing. I think it's a very good introduction, a very very solid one. It's not my favorite, but that's not to say that it's not good. It's amazing. And I always have a special place in my heart for the first films ever, especially when they get rebooted against the creator's permission, as it happened in 2019, I think, with the Aubrey Plaza remake, or the remake featuring Aubrey Plaza and Mark Hamill, I think, from Star Wars. Very good cast. I did watch it. I thought that that movie, just to comment on a little side note, I thought that it was okay. I didn't think it was trash, but it definitely doesn't hold up to the Chucky franchise, and it could have been awesome on its own, without the Chucky image, the Chucky ripoff, and the Chucky name behind it. You know what I'm saying? It could have been Benny, or that's a little bit too close. John, whatever. It could have been anything. It could have been the robotic nightmare, or the cyber revenge. Title it whatever you want. You have something there that's gonna be fun for horror viewers. I don't think it was trash, like I said, but especially, like, it's just a politics kind of thing. Like, oh well, you signed the contract, now we own it, blah blah blah. If you want to get funded, you have to sign the release of this. So that's little nasty details behind this industry. um no hate towards it, but you can't compare it, and I don't consider it obviously part of the franchise at all. It doesn't have anything to, it adds nothing at all besides the whole modern twist. um but that's it for that. I would give the movie Child's Play a rating of, I don't know. I mean, in its category, an 8.5 out of 10. I would say an 8.5 out of 10. It's cool. It's amazing. There are things that I would change, but at the same time, I can't really say what I would change, because I would only change them because I know what happens in the other films. So I would change things to match what happens in the other films and the series, but I wouldn't change anything for the first entry if I didn't know of the other ones. You know what I'm saying? So 8.5 in its category, and I'm so excited to review all the other Chucky films. I know I reviewed Cult of Chucky already. I don't know if I deleted it though. Even if I reviewed it, I'm gonna review it again because I feel like I can do a much better job now. I know I did it like back in the beginning of my reviewing days, back in like 2017 or something like that. But anyway, I've been rambling on about for a very long time. I'm very excited to talk about the other ones soon enough. That would happen. That will happen. Sorry. And hopefully, I'm also feeling better because my throat is kind of killing me. And my mind is numb. My brain is numb right now. Anyway, that's it for this one. Child's Play. Thank you for watching.